All right, welcome. In today's show, we have Dr. Emily Plasker, who's going to be joining us today. Emily is a very dear friend. I remember last February, and we were on a walk, and you're like, one day I really want to work with you. And I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to work with you. And February, March, April, May, 3 months later, she reached out about a year ago today and wanted some support in growing her business. And at the time she reached out, she was a chiropractor, had her own chiropractic business, was running space or had her own like physical location, and was doing some gut health stuff. And I've always been intrigued by what she does. So I'm excited to like dive into that today so that the audience and you guys can hear more about her offer and like her skill set, because I think it's very fascinating and I think it's very needed. And yeah, we connected about a year ago, started working together, and have been working together for about a year now. And I get little goosebumps just like thinking about like your progress and all that you have achieved over the past year. And I wish I could take the credit for it, right? But like you have done such a awesome job of like showing up, being consistent, and just like really like following your heart. And I'm very, very blessed to call you a friend, and also just very grateful to also be able to have coached you in this time period so far. I'm gonna get emotional and choked up, but yeah, welcome. Thank you for being here. What we're gonna cover today, for listeners, is we just want to hear. We're gonna ask Emily just some questions about her business. She's gonna share us like her offer, what got her into this whole space, and she'll also give us the secrets to her marketing strategy and all that fun stuff. So, Emily, thank you for being here.
Yay, I'm so excited. You said you were going to get choked up. I'm probably going to get choked up because of just like how much my life has changed in the last year. Honestly, so much of it because of your help in the Growth Accelerator and like you said, following my heart in my business. So I'm probably going to get choked up too. Yeah.
It's okay. We're just gonna cry this whole show,
Yeah.
guys. So,
Oh.
oh, all right. Well, let's start this off as just like I would love to hear about your personal health journey, because that's typically what I'm a physical therapist, right? So that kind of what got me into the rehab space, the health space. So I'd love to hear about your health journey, like what got you into the space.
Yeah, man, how to make a long story short, right? Um, you know, It's funny on reflection. Like, I grew up in a very health conscious family. My dad was a chiropractor, and I was raised with like a holistic view of health. Like the body is made to heal itself. It's fully capable of healing itself as long as we don't get in its way, basically, is how I was raised. And at the same time, why my family was very health conscious, I also like love Chick-fil-A. I grew up in the South. I love Chick-fil-A. And like in Georgia, where I grew up, there's so many mosquitoes, and my parents would like spray the lawn with pesticides every summer. And so I was raised like in this paradigm of like super health conscious, and also like everything's not perfect, right? And I started having health issues that seemed small when I was in middle school, high school. I remember like one day I was at camp and I ate lunch. And then after lunch, I literally had to crawl in bed in the fetal position because I was in so much pain. I was fighting nausea, I was bloated, I was gassy, I felt miserable. And while that's like the first conscious memory I have of it, I know it probably was happening long before that. And that was just something that was so bad, it like stands out to me. And through middle school, high school, college, chiropractic school, that those health issues got worse and worse and worse, despite me trying everything I knew on my own to help it get better. And so for about 20 years, I struggled with digestive issues. I had a growing list of food sensitivities. I couldn't do gluten, I couldn't do dairy, I couldn't do processed foods. When I got into chiropractic school and started living like a way more crunchy life, I went vegan and I went raw vegan. And at first, those diets helped. I started to feel a little better. But as I now know, with food sensitivities and digestive issues, it only took so long for the foods that I was eating that were my safe foods to become non-safe foods and would land me in the same crippling pain. So I wasn't able to eat broccoli and zucchini and like all the healthy foods that like, we know support health. And when I got out of chiropractic school, I opened my own chiropractic business. And like, talk about stress, right? Opening your own business, opening an in-person business where in a new town where you don't know anybody, where you have to market yourself. my health issues just hit a freaking wall. I not only had the digestive issues, but then I started dealing with intense anxiety, something I truly never dealt with before. I'm not an anxious person. I'm a pretty, like, people who know me, I'm like pretty chill, grounded person. Intense anxiety. At this point, the pandemic was starting and I owned a business that was like being shut down. So I kind of had something to blame it on, you know? But one day I was in the office and I was talking to my brother, who's my business partner, and I had started dealing with brain fog. And I literally forgot the word spine in the office one day. I had asked my brother, what's that thing that I studied for 4 years that I have a doctorate in? Like, what's that thing called? The bones in the back. And he was like, spine. Like, geez, are you okay, Emily? And I was like, I don't know. So I had like really intense brain fog. And then I broke out in like a full body skin rash. That was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever dealt with in my life. It was so itchy. I couldn't wear clothes. It's how I got into cold plunging, because the only thing that brought me relief was like ice cold showers or bath.
Sure.
But as soon as I would get out and like put a towel on my body, the itchiness would come back. And I was in such a deep, dark place. I literally, like, I knew I couldn't live like that. And I literally could empathize with people who would take their own lives from how bad they felt. And my journey, like, it hit a breaking point when I saw, like, for 20 years I was trying to do this on my own. I had all this knowledge. I was a doctor. I was helping people heal. And yet I couldn't look at myself objectively to figure out what was going on with me. And I remember I was standing in the kitchen one day, making cauliflower rice. I like had bought a bunch. I was following this like anti-inflammatory protocol. I put a bunch of cauliflower rice in the pan. It was too much. It was like overflowing. I was like overwhelmed. And like my partner walked in the door and I immediately broke down crying. I was just like, I am not okay. I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I can't do this anymore on my own. Like, I need help. And that was a huge turning point for me, is like admitting like, I'm not okay. I can't do this on my own. I need help. The pandemic had closed all doctors' offices, so it seemingly looked like I couldn't get help. Thankfully, I knew a friend who was in functional medicine space, and she set me on the trajectory to where I am now. It was a super like long healing journey. We did all the testing. I went on a protocol with her. I got a little bit better. My brain fog, anxiety, and rash went away. So I was back to like what I was used to with like the digestive issues, but I still had these digestive issues that like I like had to worry about food all the time. Like, what could I eat today that wasn't going to cause me distress? And there were no answers for me. My functional medicine practitioner had kind of exhausted everything she knew. And I was determined. I was raised in this like health philosophy of like the body is capable of healing, like as long as we don't get in the way, like what is getting in my way? And that sent me down so many rabbit holes on Instagram, on the internet, different seminars, until I found like what I'm now doing. The thing that really helped me get better was detoxing the things that were causing my issues. In my case, it was pesticides and parasites were causing me this like long-standing digestive issues. And when I was able to really address the causes of my symptoms on like the deepest level, that's when I saw like the most amazing healing, where like now I was just reflecting, like it was my birthday this last week and my partner took me to a surprise dinner. He didn't tell me where we were going. And like, I literally never would have been able to do that before, like not like vet the menu to see if I could eat anything. Like in this journey, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder against gluten. I couldn't eat gluten because my body would attack itself. And that's something like the medical paradigm would tell you, like autoimmunity is unhealable. Like you will never eat gluten again. I can freaking eat gluten again.
Mm.
It's amazing. So, that's my background, my personal health background.
Okay, I just love that. So to kind of when you were a chiropractor and your parents were chiropractors too, when you first started on this health journey, were you doing more chiropractic? Like, were you trying? Was that kind of where your first attempt to try to heal yourself was?
I guess at the like basis level, totally. I mean, I've been getting adjusted by a chiropractor since I was an itty bitty baby, and that's something that stuck with me through my whole life. What it looked like when I was younger, outside of that, was like food sensitivity testing, going to acupuncturists, and mostly dieting, like random elimination diets, and then also random supplementation, like random cleanses. Like, oh, I did this one specific like 21-day cleanse every quarter. Because I would feel a little better when I was on it, but then like as I had a little bit of time off of it, all my symptoms would come back. And it's something when I reflect on it, I'm like, why did I try that so many times when it wasn't working? But I did. I tried it over and over and over and over again. until I like finally just hit my breaking point where I was like, I have to do something different.
And that's what led you to what you're doing now, right? The functional med. So you kind of shared your transformation of like how you felt now. And then how did you get into like, wow, this has been so transformative for me. I now want to share this with other people. What did that transition look like for you?
Yeah, the transition was not something I put intention into. I got better using a radically different result or process than most people. And my family saw that transformation. They saw me struggling for so long and they saw me finally get better, doing something different that they were like, hey, like, can you help us with our things? And I was like, sure. And then my friends saw me and they were like, can you help me? And I was like, sure. And then like my family and friends started referring people and I was like, oh gosh, okay, like this is something that's helping people like more than just me. So it was very like organic and natural and not something I ever like really put intention and thought behind doing until it was like in my lap. And I was like, okay, like I have something that works and it's something that can help a lot of people. So like, let's do it.
That's cool. Because a lot of my content, I'm always like, yeah, got to find a problem and then solve the problem for yourself, then solve it for friends and family, then solve it for take it to market. Like you've proven it. And, it's cool to see that you did that, probably not even knowing that you were doing that, right? You're like, I've got this problem. I need help. All right. I figured out how to solve the problem. Now people are asking me to solve the problem. I'm going to help them. You maybe charge them, maybe didn't, whatever, first couple of ones. And then you're like, wow, I actually have something.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
What about the time that we started to connect? Like, when did you start doing this type of work? Because you were doing it when we did meet. Like, you're still doing chiropractic, and you were doing this as well, right?
Yeah, when we met, I was beginning to be referred out to more people. So I was past the point of helping my friends and family, and I was like, okay, like other people want my help. Like I need to charge for this. How do I do this in a way that like is a seamless process and gets people the results that they're wanting. And so I started doing it in a way that wasn't necessarily that process. I didn't necessarily get people results because I didn't have like a container for it. I was just kind of throwing like spaghetti at the walls of like, how do I work with people? Yeah, and God, my journey has been lots of spaghetti at the wall. Some of it sticks and we go with what sticks, right? And so yeah, I mean, we met very much when I was like, the whole another thing in my story is like I was very deeply unhappy in my chiropractic practice. I was wanting to get out of it for years. I realized that an in-person, really busy chiropractic practice doesn't support the lifestyle I want to live and like what I dream of, like with motherhood and like staying home with my kids eventually when that comes. Like the life I was building did not support that life. And so like, how can I transition this in a way where I can build something that I can still have my career and family I want one day. And that's about where you came into my life. And I was like, oh, this is what he helps people do. Like, I need to learn from him.
I love it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it matches with my journey too, being a physical therapist, wanting the same thing. It's like, my dream is not to be locked down in a clinic 9 to 5. I really want, for me, it was like I was also younger. I wanted to travel. And
Mm.
that's when I actually met you the first time
Yeah.
was I was traveling. I was in Bend, Oregon for a month and met you there.
Yeah.
And I will say you were pretty heavily in the practice and just from like outside observation, I think I've shared with you too, but you look different than like when I first saw you. Like you definitely were more inflamed around like that time. It was 2021 ish, like your skin, your face. And if I haven't mentioned it again, like you not just as like your bank account and like all those other things change, but like you as your health from the outside looking in looks to be in a much superior place too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a completely different person, honestly. Like there's no way I could do what I'm doing today being the person I was back then. I was when we initially met before like business and all that was involved, I was in the thick of the process. I had just finished with my functional medicine practitioner. I was doing better, but I was like not there yet. And I was literally in the middle of the detox process that I was doing when we first met.
Yeah. I love that. All right. So I'd love to hear, and the audience would too, like, how do you help somebody, right? So what's your process when someone's like, hey, I've got some GI stuff. I don't know what the heck's going on. How do you take them under your wing, consult them and help them, heal the stuff?
Yeah, when we look at the body and health issues, there's really only a few things that can be going on that cause like drastic health issues or even small health issues. And, people come to me having been to like all the different practitioners, whether they are medical based or natural, holistic based, like they've kind of been through the gambit. They've done all the testing, and they're still not better. And the reason is because they, even with the more functional medicine, naturopathic doctors, they're still only going after symptoms like, oh, your hormones are imbalanced. Like, let's just supplement with things that we know improve hormones. Let's remove the foods, let's replace the nutrients. That's usually what people have done. And it can only get people so far when there are still issues going on under the surface. And so the first step I do with people is figuring out, like, on the deepest level, what is going on in the body that is causing you to react the way you're reacting, whether it's gut issues, hormone issues, skin issues, energy issues, like whatever, however it's manifesting. And so we run a test, we run a hair analysis, and the hair analysis shows us so much information. It shows us, one, what are like the creepy crawlers in your system? What are the living pathogens in your system? So parasites, mold, heavy, funguses, bacteria, viruses. It'll show us all of that. It'll show us what are the man-made toxicities that are in your system, whether it's heavy metals, pesticides, radiation, fragrances, plastics, phthalates, all those different man-made things. Those two together, the creepy crawlers, the man-made toxins, give us like, they give us the reason why your body's fighting an uphill battle, right? Because if the body is perfect and able to heal, as long as we don't get in the way, those are the things that get in the way, are the creepy crawlers and the man-made toxins. The creepy crawlers and man-made toxins, along with our food system being really, our soil being really depleted of nutrients because of everything we've done to it, our different like agricultural practices, our food is devoid of nutrients. And so there are nutrient deficiencies that get in our way. And so the test will also show us what are the specific nutrients that your body's depleted in, everything from antioxidants to your vitamins, your minerals, your fatty acids, your amino acids. And so the test gives us a really big picture of like, what are all the things that are causing you to fight this uphill battle every single day of your life that are causing stress inside your body, whether or not you feel stress. And so that's step one, is figuring out, okay, what are the things going on in the body that your body's trying to get rid of?
And that's all through hair, you said, right? So it's like a hair sample test. And
Yeah.
then you send it out to a lab,
Mm-hmm.
and then they meet with you again. And then, yeah, you could tell us more. Tell us through a full process.
Yeah. I mean, it's all through hair. It's really wild. This test like really changed my practice and my clients' results. And if you think about it, your hair is a waste product. So it's literally made out of what your body's trying to get rid of. It's made out of the different like nutrients that your body's made of. And so it really can give us a lot of information. Of course, it's not the whole picture because no single test is going to be the whole picture, but it's a really great starting point to where you're not, to get the same information from other testing, you're going to have to run so many different panels. And that just jacks up the prices that you're going to spend to even find out what's going on, let alone like actually do something about it. And so once we know like what is going on in your body, well, then we can build a protocol that's unique to that person to address exactly what they're fighting. And so the protocol, I kind of talk about it in 3 steps. The first step is prep. We have to prep the body to do the work that we're going to want it to do to detox these things. And so the prep work looks like getting the different organs that are already working so hard to come online to be able to work harder for us. So your colon, your liver, your gallbladder, your intestines, your lymphatic system, your brain, your cells, your mitochondria, like literally we have all these different organs that work so hard for us that we really need to bring back online before we can demand anything of the body. And so I call that drainage, and that we could talk about that forever, but drainage is basically just the process that your body has of getting rid of things it's exposed to, whether it's like a parasite or a heavy metal, or even like just breakdown from the hormones you make daily, the food you're eating, from muscle damage from working out. Drainage is the process of getting all of that out of the body. So we get drainage online with a combination of different herbal supplements, as well as different lifestyle practices. And then once we've done the prep work, then we could go into detox. Detox is when we are addressing the living and non-living things that are stored in your tissues. It can take time for sure, depending on how much is in the tissues. There's a specific order we need to address everything in. For instance, like parasites. Parasites are always the first thing we address because parasites, believe it or not, everyone has them. And Whether or not they're an issue, we do live with some level of parasites. The goal is to not eradicate them completely, but the goal is to eradicate any parasites that are overgrowing, causing issues. And parasites themselves, they are toxic sponges. They feed off of all the viruses, the mold, the heavy metals, they feed off of all that synthetic stuff. And so if we don't address parasites first, what we do is we pull these different toxins out of the cells and we feed the parasites, and then the parasites then become more of an issue and overgrow. So all that to say, there's a specific order we have to move through detox to make sure that we're doing it in the way that is going to actually lead to results and not leave people feeling sick, because so many people have done detoxes in the past on their own and they don't follow through with them completely because they're not doing them in the right order. They're going too quickly and they end up feeling a lot worse on it, which is like one, a sign that you need it, but two, a sign that you need to do it differently, because like your body can only handle so much and you should be doing it in a way where you're meeting your body where it's at, only getting rid of what it can get rid of at the time, what the liver and the colon and all that can get rid of at the time. And so we move through detox. It takes however long it takes, depending on the person. And then once we've removed the toxins and the pathogens themselves will cause nutrient deficiencies. And so we have to clear the toxins of the pathogens to see like what are the true nutrient deficiencies of the body now, what is self-corrected now that we've gotten rid of the things that are creating the nutrient deficiencies. And then we can go in and replace the different nutrients that we need to replace with a combination of whole food and supplementation, however the person wants to do it.
Now the detox, coming back to the detox, like the methods that you use, because I'm just interested in it. So what does that look like? Like, I know you used to do like the coffee enemas and stuff. Like, I don't know if that's detox or if that's something else, but like, what do you use, one, to like for the methods to detox, and then two, how do you reassess? Like, do you do another hair test again to be like, okay, you're now good. We're able to go to the next stage.
Yeah, all good questions. So detoxing looks, it looks a lot of different ways for different people and what they're dealing with. The one thing that it always includes is targeted herbal supplements. The herbal supplements change depending on the person, depending on what we're going after. There are certain supplements that go after parasites. There are certain ones that go after heavy metals, mold, etc. So targeted herbal supplements, as well as different lifestyle practices like the coffee enema to target the specific organs in that person's body that's needing help. So for instance, someone who is coming to me with like all brain issues, brain fog, focus issues, fatigue, they might need more of a like brain and cellular support than liver support. Coffee enema is liver support. Brain cellular support is totally different. It looks like hydration and electrolytes and getting out in the sunshine and grounding and sleeping. And so we pull in the different lifestyle practices that are going to target the part of the body that that person needs support in. And that kind of changes too as a person goes through the protocol, because like these, especially when I'm talking about parasites, and especially because I work with mostly with people with a lot of gut issues, people think these things live in the gut, but they don't live in the gut. They live all over the body. And so, one big area they live is fat cells. Fat cells can be basically anywhere in the body. And so our goal is to pull these things out of the cells there and dump them into the gut to come out of the colon, because that's the safest route our body has of getting rid of things versus like pushing them through the skin or out through the lungs or out through the sinuses, stuff like that. And so we're targeting the specific part of the body that is needing the help at that time. And we do sometimes retest. I kind of leave it up to the person and how they're doing. I always like to see it retest. If someone is feeling better and they don't really want to see the results, they're just like happy with where they are, we don't retest. Sometimes we do hit walls, or sometimes there is like I work with people for an extended period of time and life happens. And so if there's like a big change, maybe they traveled and they got really sick traveling, maybe they contracted something, they will retest then to see, okay, what's going on in the body now? We need new information. Or sometimes we just retest to like see how things have shifted. And so that's not something I require. I do recommend it quite a bit, but it's not something that I always do with people.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's like if the subjective matches what you're looking for, it's like, do we need to go spend the extra money to get it done again? Or can we move on to the next step?
Yeah, totally. And it's like catch-22 because symptoms speak a lot, especially with someone who is like really knowledgeable in reading like the symptomatic picture of the body is, if someone's coming to me and they don't have any bad symptoms and they only have really good symptoms, to me, I'm like, okay, and it's been that way for an extended period of time, not just like a day or a week. Then I'm like, okay, like you're not painting the picture of someone who has any of these things. Do you want to retest just to see the results? Or maybe they're feeling better, but their body's still speaking in symptoms to me. I'm like, okay, like there's something else going on. We've done so much cleaning work. Why don't we retest to see, like, the test is so valuable because it saves time, it saves energy. And even though it costs money, it saves money because then we're not just shooting in the dark of like, okay, maybe we have to go a little more after parasites or a little more after mold or a little more after BPA. Like we know exactly like, okay, this is what's left in the body. These are the systems that need support. Let's just move the needle now.
Yeah, that's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Coming back to the steps. So first one is assess. The second one was detox, right?
Prep, drainage.
Prep drainage, then detox, or that is detox.
Yeah, drainage and prep work are the same thing. It's preparing the body, preparing the organs. And then after that, we go into detox. And then after detox, we go into replacing nutrients.
Cool. And did we talk on replacing nutrients, or is that, we didn't do that yet, did we?
We touched on it. Yeah, we touched on it a little bit. It's something that I find that not everyone needs. When we get there, not everyone needs it because, like I said, the body is self-healing and capable, and like the things that cause the nutrient, as long as a person is eating a semi-healthy diet. If they're not, that's a totally different story. But as long as a person's eating a semi-healthy diet, which hopefully by this point they are, because there's still a lot of like, throughout the process, there's still a lot of like health coaching of talking about nutrition and movement and sleep and stress and all that sort of stuff. When we clear the things that create the toxicity or the deficiencies will self-correct when you feed the body appropriate foods. Not always, if it's a really big deficiency, like for instance, like thyroid issues, thyroid can be affected, and iodine is a really important nutrient for the thyroid. Iodine can become deficient when we have heavy metals in the system. Even something like chlorine, like swimming in pools or showering in water with chlorine, that's something that will create a deficiency of iodine in the body, which will lead to a thyroid issue. If we can get rid of the chlorine exposure and you're eating foods that contain iodine, well, then you probably corrected it yourself. Maybe the deficiency was really big and we need to throw in some supplementation.
Okay. Wow. That's so interesting. I never thought about that being in a pool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We
Okay,
humans
cool.
get in our own way a lot.
Yeah, we do. Now, all right. So I feel really clear now in like your process. Now I'm sure there's some people listening like, okay, how can I learn more about this? Because this isn't your traditional like calories in, calories out and supplements or whatever. So like where did you learn this stuff? And if someone is interested in learning more about it, where would they go?
Totally. I went to chiropractic school. I'm a doctor of chiropractic. I did not learn this stuff. And like maybe there was like bits and pieces of it I learned, but I missed along the way because there's so much information. But the way I really gained this knowledge was through outside seminars and continuing education. There's a company I know and love and trust, Cellcore Biosciences. And from the public perspective, you don't have access to it, but from a practitioner provider perspective, they have so much continuing education. That's kind of where I started with growing my knowledge base. It's where I continue to go back to because their research is just like top notch. It's always like new and innovative. It's a company full of doctors who are helping people who can't get help elsewhere. That's the type of person I want to be. So that's where I go. That's where I started. And honestly, I've just followed like my passion to find other courses and programs and seminars that are teaching the things that I want to learn.
You said it was biotech?
Cellcore Biosciences.
Cellcore Biosciences, not biotech. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Now I want to hear, because I know everyone here who follows me is into sales and marketing. So I love your offer. Before we jump into that real quick, how long does it take someone to work with you? Right? Because that's probably, so people are going to know, well, okay, how do you price that? What does that look like? So hit on the offer on a quick, here, we typically work with people this long. I do it through having X number of calls. Yeah. And then let's jump into talking about sales and marketing.
Yeah, totally. I have a few different offers based on where the person is in their health journey and what they're needing from me. And they all differ in the time we work together. Nothing about the actual process changes. And so I work with people in 4-month, 6-month, and 9-month chunks. 9-month is what I'm offering the most because of just the type of person that comes to me and what I now, through my expertise in doing this for so long, what I know the time-wise we need to be able to hit everything. Like I said, we have to approach things in a way that we're meeting the body where it's at, and the body doesn't work in sprints, it works in a marathon. And so 9 months sounds like a lot of time to people who like aren't really struggling, But when you talk to someone who's struggling, who's been already going at it for years by themselves or with other people not seeing results, 9 months can actually fly by really quickly. So that's what I tend to recommend the most. Whether it's 4, 6, or 9 months, we always start with the hair analysis. And after the hair analysis, we meet on Zoom because I work with people all over. We meet on Zoom to go over the results and put together the protocol. And then within the amount of time that we're working together, we're meeting once a month on Zoom. We're talking about the next month worth of protocol, right? Like not giving people like all the steps because that's overwhelming and they can't even like think about like what's for dinner tonight, but giving people just like 1 month chunks of a time at a time of like, this is what you're going to do and stay committed to this month. And then between our monthly calls, people have access to me basically 24/5, weekdays only, through just like a HIPAA certified like private chat support where they can, it kind of looks like Instagram DMs. They just message me. They can ask me any questions that are popping up, big or small. As we go through this process, you know, healing, there are good days, there are bad days. So on the bad days, we can really troubleshoot like right then and there. Like maybe we're changing the dosages of their supplements. Maybe we're implementing a new lifestyle practices. Maybe we're, you know, we're just able to pivot in real time. They don't have to like feel bad for a month and then talk to me and we're like troubleshoot a month later, right? We can troubleshoot in real time. So that's basically the two ways that I'm supporting people throughout is with the monthly calls and then the chat support between. And then on our monthly calls, I'm telling them exactly like, this is the supplements I'm recommending. This is where you buy them. This is how often I want you to do a castor oil pack or coffee enema or contrast therapy or dry brush or whatever it is I'm recommending. That they'll get all on the Zoom call, and then I'll send them a protocol, a right now protocol that they can refer back to.
Cool. Yeah, I love that too, because it does take people, especially if they've been dealing with this for a long time, it's going to take them probably at least 4 weeks before they need to change anything. It's like, go do this thing, stay consistent with it. Because not everyone's going to be on it every single day. But hopefully if they're consistent enough throughout that month, by the time you have the next call, you have updates for them. And maybe they don't. Maybe it's still, hey, you do the same thing again for another month. But that frequency, I think, is really good for what you do. Because I
Yeah.
know a lot of us want to do weekly calls or just like overdo more, and sometimes that's not really needed for both parties.
Yeah.
Because just getting on a call to get on a call and be like, yep, everything's good.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, why did I get on that call? I could have just messaged you.
Yeah. And you know what? Like people are tapped out. They are either like moms and they have a family to take care of and they're trying to heal, or they have like some sort of job or career. They're busy, they're tapped out, they're out of capacity. Like a call a week sounds like great and super supportive, but it's too much. It's too much for people to commit to. We often don't need it, especially when there's that chat support built in, because things do come up and people do need support in the interim. And like, yeah, if someone needs a call, like, but in less than a month, like I get on a call with people. Usually we don't need that because we're able to figure it out in the chat.
Yeah, that's exactly how our offer is set up too. Okay, one question about this too. Are they paying the supplements through you and then you buy the supplements, or did you switch that?
I switched that. I used to do that, but as my business is growing, it's just too much for me to keep track of. Um, Getting it out on time. When am I supposed to order it for a certain person? Like getting over shipping and stuff. So I recommend it. I put the link right in there of like where to order, what it's called, how to order, and then they order it themselves.
Good for you. I remember seeing the spreadsheets that you showed me the first time. Like, I got all these shipments from this state. I'm like, man, this is very logistical.
Yeah, yeah. Like, and maybe if I hired someone, but the reality is like I don't need to hire someone, and you know, they can just do it themselves, and then they know like how to go through the process. They can read up on the supplements, they can do the research, they know exactly where to get it, they can look at the ingredients, they can get a little more nitty-gritty and involved in their own healing journey.
I love that. All right, walk me through the sales process, because I think your sales process is a little different than a lot of the stuff that we teach. I might be wrong, but I think you have a paid consult for your first one.
No, I don't. I don't think it's much different. So my sales process, I only work with people I know I can help. And I don't really, you know, people have been burned by providers. They spend so much money. I don't want to take money from someone who I can't help at the end of the day. And so I will hop on a free consultation over Zoom with anyone who I think is a good fit. There's a little pre-qualification I do. I have an application process or just chatting with the person on Instagram. I do all my marketing on Instagram. So I'll chat with them on there, or they'll fill out an application. And then if they look like a good fit, we'll hop on a consultation where I listen to what's going on. If I can help, I explain my process and how I help. And then from there, we decide together if it's a good fit.
Got it. So I heard application, call, extended offer. Is that a one call, two call?
I mostly do one call. The times I do two call, I do have a book a call link available on my profile. That's a phone call. It's a short 15-minute call. Anyone can book that. So if someone just randomly goes and books that on there, that will be two calls. I'll chat with them, connect with them a little bit. If I think it's a good fit, I'll extend an offer to do a longer consult over Zoom. But usually when I'm already in conversation with someone, or if they've already expressed interest with an application and I can see a little more like qualifying details of whether or not they're a good fit, then I just jump straight to a consultation over Zoom.
Cool. That's smart. And for those who are listening, been like, what did they talk about? One call versus two call. In the sales world, there's often a two call model is where you have a triage call, which could be like a discovery call. There's no commitment on the call. It's like typically 15 minutes, just asking some surface level, higher level questions of like, are you looking for this? Cool. And then you set up a longer call, which is your consultation call, which could be 45 to 60 minutes, where you go into detail on, how this problem has been affecting their lives. And then you get to outline, here's how I can help you. And like Emily was kind of sharing her 3 to 4 step process earlier in this call, or on this, she would do the same. Hey, based off what you shared, this is the first thing we're going to do. We're going to do this, and it's going to take about 9 months. So that would be the second call if you did a two call. But what with Emily, like she was saying, is that if she's already been having a conversation, the DMs with somebody, they've already like checked off a lot of boxes that she would cover on a call, or they fill an application showing interest in working with her, she'll just skip that step and go straight to a one call consultation, which is smart.
Yeah, I was doing the two call method at first, and what I was finding is people were literally bearing their souls to me on this call, and that would take up all their time. And then I'm like, cool, like now that you're a crying wreck, like let's meet next week, And so it didn't feel right. It's like this person is emotional about this, they're bearing their soul, they're looking for help. Like, why put a time delay on there? Like, let's just show them how we can help now, and they can get out of limbo land, whether that's working with me or not. We can at least help them make a decision about, is this a fit or do I look elsewhere? So yeah, that's with doing a one call model, like the no-shows, does it waste more of my time than like a 15-minute no-show? Yes, but I think at the end of the day, it makes the process a little more seamless for when a person is really serious about getting help and I'm a good fit for them.
Yeah, I would, if I could, I would just have one call. So we do still do a lot of two calls because we have people who we're not sure if we can help, right? But if in an ideal world, I would just have one calls as well, because it would just make the calendar so much cleaner. And then trying to get someone to reschedule who misses a 15 to try to come back to 15, then you got to get them to come to the 60. It's like you have to get them to show up twice. So I don't know. There's pros and cons to it all. Like we still are very heavy in the two call, even though I kind of just said, oh, it stinks. It doesn't stink. But yeah, I like how you're doing it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So you said most of your marketing is on Instagram. What's your strategy? What are you doing right now to book more of these calls?
Yeah, totally. I want people to raise their hand to work with me in some way or another. I don't really want to like go find people to work with. It can be kind of hard to see the issues that I help people with from like trying to, go different places on the internet and find them. And so what I'm doing now is I'm running an ad on Instagram to get followers. The ad I'm running speaks to the pain points of digestive issues and basically all the things that I did that didn't work and that I know other people are doing and not working. And the call to action on the ad is to follow me. Once someone follows me, I will send them a message asking, just being like, hey, thanks for following me. Looking forward to connecting. I'm curious, like what inspired you to follow me? Right. That's basic and it's personalized and it looks different for everyone. And then sometimes they respond and sometimes they don't. And the people who respond just engage in a conversation to connect with them. And if they're looking for help, they'll say it. And the people who are looking for help, we get on a call and see if I can help them. And if so, then bada bing, bada boom, we move on to testing and help them. So that's like the main like strategy outline
Yeah.
right now.
So it sounds like the ad is to get in front of new people, because I know a lot of people are just like, oh, I'm just going to keep posting and praying, or I'm going to go into Facebook groups and or follow people who also follow other accounts, shoot them DMs. That's those strategies can work to get you off the ground. And I think we did some of those when you
Yeah.
first got started. But then once you had some cash and be able to reinvest, just being able to spend anywhere from 10, $20 a day, just to get in front of new eyeballs and new people will transform your business versus trying to rely on the algorithm and all that nonsense.
Totally. And like the posting is still super important, I find, because like people who I connected with a year ago who said no, they've been following me for a year. They've been seeing like the testimonials I'm posting. They've been like seeing my content, hearing my voice. And they sign up a year later, right? Like they're not always ready, or maybe it said something about my sales skills. I'm sure there's a lot of that going on. But the posting is super important. But to me, it's not what turns someone from a follower into a client.
Yeah. You're
So
saying that the posting isn't, or the
it is, it nurtures, but it's not like, if I think about all the people who I'm working with who I found on Instagram, none of them reached out to me first. A few
yeah.
of them reach out to me first. A majority of the time I reach out to them and they're like, oh, I was thinking about reaching out to you eventually, right? And it just speeds up the process. Or they're just going to always think about reaching out to you and never actually do it. And some people get really turned off by people sending them messages on Instagram. I like, don't sweat it. It's like, cool. Like if you're turned off by that, then not my person. But the people who are truly looking for help really appreciate that I'm not just like a random person on Instagram spewing information, but that I'm actually a caring person, and I'm going to ask about how they're doing, and offer to help them, or offer to help them either in my own program, or I can't even think about how many times I've pointed someone in a different direction, like, hey, like follow this person, do this program. And that's not mine. It's like, I show up to my whole goal is, how do I help people? And like, sometimes I'm the right fit and sometimes I'm not. And I wouldn't know that unless I was talking to them.
I love that. I love that, because there's a negative connotation for how you'll be perceived sometimes with DMs, how you feel when you're sending DMs. But what I heard from what you just said was that the only way I can help them is if I talk to them. And like, you also refer out to a lot of people, right? And I think when we start to think about like DMs and we think about the KPIs and numbers, we start to objectify it all of like it, this messages go out to create one client. And while there are some KPIs that are good to be aware of and good to track as you get started and learn these things, it does come back down to like understanding what you're actually doing in there and why you started business in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And I know your why, you shared it earlier, is just, it seems so strong, and like your personal journey is so strong. So like, if you can help somebody overcome that same journey that you went through, it's worth having a conversation, even if it feels uncomfortable for you to start the conversation. Because if you can help them, or if they find the help, it doesn't need to be from you, and they're able to experience even a sliver or a portion of what you've experienced in your journey, it's worth it.
Totally. Yeah. And I had so much resistance to doing that when I started, so much. And at the same time, like, I wanted to leave my practice. I didn't know how to do it. I needed help. I hired you. And like, that itself was an investment for me. Like, my practice was dying. I didn't have the money. I did, just had to choose to invest it. And because I invested in myself a kind of higher amount than I was comfortable, I was going to show up and do whatever you told me to do. And now it's like, I know, because I'm in the program, that people have resistance to doing some of the things you tell them to, and they don't do it, and they don't see results because of it. And I'm like, cool, I don't care if out of the 20 messages I sent this morning, no one responds to me. If one person responds to me, great, that's one person I maybe can help. And so it's like, kind of like, do what you can, show up, forget about all the resistance. And we're all coaches for the most part in your program. Like, you got to do things that make you uncomfortable. You got to do something that's different. How bad do you want it?
And it gets easier too as you do it
It
more.
totally
It
gets easier.
doesn't feel
Yeah.
that way, right?
Now
Like
I
the
just drink
first,
my coffee and I send my DMs and I'm like, good morning, world. Who needs help today?
I love that. All right. Well, we're coming up here on time. Thank you for being here again. Like, you're a rock star client for us. Like, I wish I had 100 more of you that I could just work
Trying to
with.
send you 100 more of me.
Please. But yeah, I would love to kind of close out on looking back at yourself, like when you were getting started, right? So kind of as that transition of like going from friends and family, and maybe you're starting to get some referrals. Like, what would you have told yourself then that would have allowed you to skip faster, or either faster ahead or go further ahead in that time period that you now know today?
Yeah. With my business and with my health journey, the thing that is in common is invest in someone who can get you there quicker. I with both my health journey, it took me 20 years to invest in someone who could help me. Growth accelerator or business in general, it took me like, 3 months from having an initial conversation with you to having an actual like serious conversation. Like, I just invest in yourself way quicker than like you feel ready for. Invest in someone who's been there, who knows how to get you there, who can help you like through the challenges. Like, for sure. I'm never gonna like delay investing in myself again because of how big of a difference it's made in my life in different aspects. Even like other like hiring other coaches and like relationships and whatnot. Like, for sure. Like, Emily a year ago, like, invest in yourself.
I love that. I didn't tell her to say that.
No, you didn't. You didn't. But it's been a theme that I'm just like keep like reflecting on, is like, wow, every time you've invested in yourself, it has been a financial risk, it's been an emotional risk, it has been a leap of faith. And because of that leap, you are somewhere totally different in your life that you only could have dreamed of.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we should close it right there.
Yeah. All right.
Emily, thank you so much again. Yeah, it was a pleasure having you on here. I also got to learn more about your story. So I thank you for sharing with me and or anyone else who watches this too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Matt. It's been a pleasure.
All right. All right. We're going to close this out. And thank you guys for watching. If you guys are watching on YouTube, go ahead and smash the subscribe button. We create daily content just like this to help you grow and scale your coaching business online. All right. Emily, thank you again. See ya.
Bye.